Breakfast. Bible. Bites.
Good morning. Today's story is about a family, but one person in particular. This family, the father was a man called Jacob, and he was very old, and he was the grandson of Abraham. Well, Jacob here had a big family. There were 12 sons in the family and a daughter. There was Reuben, there was Simeon and Levi and Judah, and then there was Dan and Naphtali and Gad and Asher and Issachar and Zebulun, and then there was the daughter, Dinah. We can put her there. And then there was the one that we're going to talk about called Joseph. There's Joseph, and the youngest son was Benjamin. What a big family, all these sons. Now, Jacob, the father, wasn't very sensible because he liked Joseph the best. He loved Joseph more than all the other sons. And not only did he love him more, he told him, and he gave him something very special. It was a multicoloured coat. None of the other brothers got one. Just Joseph here. Well, as you can imagine, that didn't make him very popular, did it? All the other brothers hated Joseph because not only was he the favourite, he kept telling them that he was a favourite as well. Well, one day Joseph was laid in bed, all the brothers were out in the fields, and Joseph was thinking about a dream he'd had. It was a very strange dream. And then he thought, well, I'm going to tell all my brothers about it. So he went into the fields and he said, I've had another dream. Do you want to hear it? And all the other brothers said, no, not another one. Oh, anyway, Joseph said, this dream, it had my sheaf of corn, which was really big, and it was standing up, and all of your sheaves of corn were bowing down to it. And the brothers thought, well, surely this means that we're going to be bowing down to Joseph. That can't be right. And then another day, Joseph had another dream. And again, he went to tell the brothers about it. Do you want to hear my dream? He said. And they groaned and said, no. But he said, this time I had a dream, and the sun and the moon and all the stars were bowing down to me. Well, Jacob said, what? Me? Your mum? All of your brothers bowing down to you? That's not going to happen. And all of this just made Joseph more and more unpopular with his brothers. Then one day, Joseph wasn't with them. They said, we're sick and tired of Joseph banging on always about how big he is and how important and how he's going to be bigger than us and better than us. I think we should get rid of him. So all the brothers had a plot, and they said, let's kill Joseph, and then we'll just tell Dad that he got attacked by a wild animal. So that's what they did. Joseph came along, and they all ganged up on him, and they all just surrounded him, and they picked him up and they threw him in a well. Oh my. Well, they were going to kill him, but then along came a caravan of merchants and traders. So Judah here, he said, why don't we sell him? We can make a bit of money at it as well. So they said to the merchant, do you want to buy a slave? So he said, well, okay then. So the merchant bought the slave and toddled off to Egypt. Well, Reuben, who'd been off somewhere, came back and said, where's Joseph? Because he was going to let him go and let him live. And the other brothers told him what had happened. And then they went and told Jacob all about how Joseph had been eaten by an animal and was with them no more. Meanwhile, the merchant took Joseph to Egypt, and there the merchant sold Joseph to a very important person called Potiphar. Well, Potiphar was like an important soldier to the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Well, Joseph was working away and he was really good at his job. He made a very good slave. And soon Potiphar made Joseph responsible for all of his household. He was very good, very pleased with Joseph. But then his wife wasn't very keen on Joseph. She didn't like him, so she told lots of nasty lies to Potiphar and had Joseph thrown in jail. He was guarded by the guards and in prison. Poor old Joseph. First of all, he was got rid of and mugged and beaten up by his family, and then his family sold him to a merchant as a slave. And now he was in prison surrounded by guards. Poor old Joseph. You know, all this time God was with him. And even though he'd been let down by his family and now he'd been put into prison, it must have seemed really, really hard for him. But you know, God was still with him, guarding and watching over him. And sometimes in our lives, things can seem to be going really badly and really wrong, but God is still with us and still watching over us. Well, that's not the end of the story. Next week, you'll have to come back and find out, did Joseph stay here in jail forever, or did he get out? Come back next week and find out what happened to our friend Joseph next. Bye then. See you next week.